And now to some good news. Dangote Petroleum Refinery has commenced the sale of automotive gas oil, which is known more as diesel, to local marketers nationwide. The Dangote Group executive, Mr. Edwin, confirmed that products are being evacuated by sea and road as local oil marketers agreed to pay 1,225 naira for the product, according to the bulk purchase agreement. It can be recalled that on January the 12th, 2024, Dangote Refinery announced that it had commenced the production of automotive oil, popularly known as diesel, and aviation fuel, which is Jet A1. And we'll discuss on how important this is, or some of the impacts that we expect from this, with Dr. Wisdom Enang. He is an oil and gas expert, and he joins us in the studio. Dr. Wisdom, good afternoon. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much.
So we have this, I believe it's good news. Absolutely. From every front, because this is energy security for the country. And more importantly, we see that that's Dangote is being strategic and looking at the industrial arm first, because when you talk of diesel, you're talking of big factories, and then the articulated vehicles that take a lot of logistics. And then when you talk of Jet A1 fuel, you're talking of the aviation sector.
Yeah, very fantastic. And, you know, for me, I'm really going to thank the Dangote team for what they've done. First and foremost, I think a number of things they've had to solve to get us to this point. We've had to, against all odds, get through to the completion of the refinery as promised. We've also had to scale through the regulatory hurdle that, borders on the distribution of these products for us to get here. And the other thing is that we've also had to do strategic sourcing of crude. I mean, the Dangote refinery has had to go all the way even to the US to get partnerships on crude, just so that if we don't get the sort of quantities we need in country, we can have a guaranteed supply from those sources. So that's very good. And even the products themselves, they're going to stimulate the economy very, very much, because we're now having cheaper AGO products. And what that means...
Is it cheaper? It's going to be cheaper.
Yeah, I mean...
Because you still have the logistics cost. He's still importing crude.
Yeah.
You know, so are we going to... Should we expect a drop in the price?
I mean, so let's just superimpose the macroeconomic factors we have at the moment. The fact that we're also expecting some improved macroeconomic outlook. For example, the exchange rate, we're expecting it to come even further down because, of course, more FDIs are coming in. We've got the increased basis point on the interest rate. That means that the Naira is more attractive to save at the moment than some currencies. So if we superimpose that, and the fact that we're also trying to increase our internal production of crude, there's that mandate, of course. So if we superimpose that with the price that has been set today for off-takers, 1,225 per litre, and we're hoping for things to get better, then of course we can, be assured that the price will be better. And what are we comparing against? We're comparing against 1,700, which is what people buy at the moment. So I don't expect it, all that taken into consideration, because remember, the supply situation was actually the problem. When it comes to the logistics and storage value chain, that is already established. So we already know the sort of margins that we would add to our off-take price to sort of get. So I don't expect it to go beyond 1,500. If we're really, and the truth is this, right? Getting to that price is also going to be anchored on the honesty of those distributors, because, I mean, if you're taking it off at, say, 1,225, you need to be honest. And the unions that, sort of put themselves together, the marketing unions, need to enforce this, that, of course, at the end of the day, someone is not going to take it at 1,225 and then end up selling at still 1,700. So
yes, that's what I even wanted to say, because it's one... And I think it's a strategy for Dangote to make public the cost.
Correct.
1,225 naira. So, I mean, whatever price you see from your retailers, it's not from our end.
Correct.
But there has to be I know we have regulators at different points, but I think somebody has to follow up to ensure that some people don't get greedy.
I think, the regulators have to follow up. I think that's the more apparent answer. But I'd like to just put forward a method that I think will work, and I'll call it the DDD. I'll call it, we've done the discussion then the documentation, and then the disclosure, discussion, and documentation. So, of course, they've disclosed the price point that they're of taking. That should then feed into an agreement to say, okay, because you have taken at this point, factoring all this is what we expect you to sell, and then you then document, the people that are actually, be engaged in this program. So, for example, from the off-takers to then people that then the retailers that get from those off-takers, I think those sort of disclosure would allow the consumers have an idea of where they can get that on the supply value chain, and it will also help to make sure that those guys are guided to know that the public is watching. Basically, you've taken a much more affordable source of AGO, and we do expect you to pass that on to the consumers.
And we do hope it works that way, because this morning we had a conversation with the manufacturer, and he drew our attention to the activities of the non-state players. So these are individuals who add to the costs of products, especially when it has to do with movement on the road, but they are not officially recognized. So we hope that this will not be another food for the non-states. You know what I mean? Because you see them on the road with the sticks, harassing especially articulated vehicles, and we do hope that the government can actually do something about this.
I think ultimately the government will take a driving seat on this one, but at the end of the day, we need to have this patriotic sort of behavior on making things work. We've seen Dangote come out, and I just have to, say another word of gratitude, because my biggest fear was when they start production, would they be tempted to supply the regional market ahead of the Nigerian market, because of it may make some commercial sense, especially for PMS. But I'm excited to learn that he's taking that initiative to make sure that all the three tenets of energy security, accessibility, affordability, and availability is being put together through this refinery. And I think all of us Nigerians need to also take a part in making sure that, yes, wherever you are on the value chain, that you participate to make this a huge success, because it's not just a success for the Dangote group, it's a success for Nigeria, and it's actually a precedent, really, because the reason I'm saying this is it's a precedent for when we begin to run the PMS on a market-driven, situation, that we're not just, right now we're having a floating, what I'll call a price peg situation. So the subsidy is out, but we're also pegging the price so that we can protect consumers from the effect of the, increase in price from PMS, right? But when we eventually pull out that price peg and allow it to be market-driven, we need to have the supply and the demand having to determine the price. And whatever happens from then on in the Dangote, this particular initial phase of supply, is going to determine what ultimately, and the lessons learned, the experience, and what we do take on board when we eventually replicate that for the PMS. Okay,
so now, paint a picture for us. What can we expect? Even in the aviation industry, everybody would expect a drop in the price of tickets, but I know it's a long, very long circle. But what can we expect now that Dangote is now supplying to the domestic market? Everybody's hoping for energy security, at least for the factories. Can we expect it to trickle down to prices of commodities and increase PMI for the country without boosting production?
Yeah, I think there are a number of things that are working in tandem to give us the sort of, outcome that you're looking at. The first is the fact that even if you go to your shops or your suppliers, you'll find that there are some products that you used to have which are not there anymore, and most of them were imported. So at the moment, we're now having, first, there is a need to fill up that gap, because consumers are coming for these products, they need alternatives, and so that is one thing that's working in favor. The second thing is, once you start dropping the prices of production through the drop in the price of the fuel that is used for this production, those two factors will work in tandem to facilitate a more, increased production outlook from the manufacturer. So we're hoping that that would stimulate the market more positively, add to our GDP, because at the moment, you see, some of the inflation drivers is we're having a lot of money in circulation, but then productivity is not matching productivity. And so we hope that that will stimulate, and I think that's a very ample opportunity. From the aviation sector, what we would expect is that cheaper prices of fuel, but of course it's not the the effect of this is not going to happen overnight, right? We're going to have about 2-3 months of lag before we start seeing this attendant effect. Remember, a lot of these aviation companies may also have bought in bulk and done strategic storage. So at the moment, you would find out that they would need to run out of their inventory before they start taking advantage of this new pricing. And we hope that we are able to have enough supply that of the feedstock to the Dangote refinery that we do not have. They started out well, but then the market dynamics doesn't allow them to continue with favorable prices for the Nigerian consumers. All right,
we certainly do hope so. I guess that is why Dangote wisely decided to have alternative supply of crude, so there'll be no gap. But thank you so much, Dr. Wisdom Enang, oil and gas experts, for your time.
Thank you very much.